Welcome to the Jubilee Road podcast with authors and bloggers Jami Amerine of Sacred Ground, Sticky Floors and Rebecca Huff of That Organic Mom. Each week you'll be inspired and encouraged by real talk, real issues, and the grace journey in real life. Grab a cup of coffee or sit as comfortably as you can in the carpool line and listen in for delightful conversation that'll make you think, sort through hopes and hurts, and most importantly, realize you're not alone on this wild, wild ride. Buckle up. Here are Jami and Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Jami Emery, and this is Season 3, Episode 4 of the formerly known as Sacred Ground Ski Floors podcast. And I am joined by my new co-host and my friend, Rebecca Huff of That Organic Mom and The Healthy Bite. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello. So excited.
How are you?
Here.
I know, I'm excited too. I feel so much better. Although I did my last podcast for Sacred Ground Sticky Floors, which I think will go, actually I'm supposed to get it back from edit, and so it'll go live tomorrow, and it's hard because I talk in it about Joy Baby, but you were just an answer to prayer in this podcast hot mess that I have created.
I wouldn't say it was a hot mess. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I'm going to leave it up, and that's Season 1 and Season 2, but we have changed the name to Jubilee Road.
Jubilee Road. That's where we want to be.
Yes. That's where we want to be, but it's actually, we've decided a ride. So, Rebecca, I don't want to bore my listeners with mine, but I know you'll have some listeners that don't know who I am. So let's start by introducing yourself, Miss Rebecca Huff.
Oh,
This is Rebecca Huff.
I will go first. So I have this whole story on my blog if, you want to read the gory details, but I'll try to keep it really short because I also do not like to bore people. But a few years ago, I had my kids in school, and I always packed their lunches because I wasn't happy with the lunches at school. And it was always, hummus and cucumbers and things like that. And at one point I was at a party and I was walking in with my kids, and the hostess started to offer us some pizza. And then she had cupcakes and different things. And she started to hand them to us. And then she kind of pulled back and said, "Oh, wait, you're that organic mom, right?" And it clicked in my head. Wow. I mean, I'd never had tried to go out and evangelize the school for health or anything. But at that moment, I realized that I was that healthy mom. And I try to do it in a way that is not offensive, like not judgmental. I just try to encourage other moms to choose the healthiest path possible. And when I say health, that includes all aspects, not just what we put in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
But,
And tell us how many kids you have, how many are homeschooled, because you are still homeschooling, right?
Yes. So I have 6 kids, and 4 have flown the coop, and they're out living their lives, and I have 2 left that, well, actually my oldest son, I say 4 have flown the coop. 3 are out on their own, and 1 is still in college, and he's at home, thankfully. And then my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old are both homeschooled. So,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've run the gamut of everything: public school, private school, Christian school, homeschool. I have juggled it all.
I know. I did the same. Well, I did the same with my original 4, and 3 of them graduated from home. And Sophie's too smart for any of us, so she's in public school. But somebody asked me recently if I was going to homeschool the Vandals, our 2 young adopted sons, Sam and Charlie. And I think I harshly went, no, but I didn't mean to. It just was like.
Well, the Vandals are a different story, and you're different phase of life right now. So
I think if Sam were the 6-year-old or 7-year-old, he just turned 7. If we had not continued, I could see homeschooling Sam. Yeah. Although I think he would be lonely, but not Charlie. He's so social, and he loves to go to school, even when he gets in trouble, which is often. He loves school. So,
right. So homeschooling's off the books for you right now.
Well, I never say never, and I never said never even when I homeschooled, because, right. I mean, there's people that, just that's where the feather in their cap, and I was always like, you just never know what's going to happen. So,
right. You have to do what's best for each child, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm not saying they may go back to school eventually. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I like to keep all my options open.
Let's see what's healthiest
And
for everyone.
you live in, tell us where you live and stuff.
I live kind of on the outskirts of Knoxville, Tennessee. This is part of what led me to stop my previous podcast, which was A Healthy Bite. We moved out of the city and into the country. The area where I lived is called Strawberry Plains. Isn't that just so sweet?
Oh,
Yes, Strawberry
so
Plains.
lovely.
Fields of wild strawberries. So anyways.
Is that true? Or is it just a
It
statement?
is. That's why they Strawberry Plains. So anyways, out here where I live in I suppose it must be the boonies because we have zero internet. I mean, like, we do have satellite, but it's just so sad. And so I just struggled with trying to keep up with things with the way my internet situation was. But we do have a little satellite dish on our house. So we're actually right. I mean, we're in the county limits. So I don't know. I really don't know.
There's no telling because I'm in town. I guess it's in town. We live on a golf course, and our internet's not grand either. So, it's always something. But that was not my struggle. My struggle was talking to myself, and I think I told you it's awkward when you're trying to do a podcast by yourself because I think you're either reading it now. Her name just left me, but there's one lady that does an excellent podcast by herself. I really enjoy it. Jennifer Allwood. And she does business talk and she can get on fire and stuff like that. But I found myself, like, I crack myself up and then I was like, what if nobody thought that was funny? Like, I didn't, it was very, very unnatural. And then the School for the Blind had asked me, they've asked me several times, and I can do it for them separately, but it wasn't going to work for the podcast. They wanted me to read my blog posts and so that they could talk about them in their Bible study. And
how sweet.
Which was fine, except that not all of them are, I don't know. It was a delivery thing. So anyway.
You have a writing style that is to be read, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Your writing style, it sounds different in your head than it is if you're trying to read it for a recording.
Yes. And actually, when I read it out loud, sometimes I just go, oh my gosh, I'm such a moron. And I had like 2 or 3 posts recently, just because I've been in such a season of struggle, that I wrote the night before, and then I would wake up like 30 minutes before they went live and go, delete. And because I just thought, that was so lame. That was so stupid. And then Justin would talk me off the ledge. My husband, Justin, would talk me off the ledge. And so I would go ahead and post them, and people would just be like, oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing. And I was like, really?
I know. You always doubt yourself when you're giving us the goods.
But I do. I always doubt the...
I know you. But this is the thing that I think is so funny. You were at that point just struggling, kind of figuring out what am I going to do with this? And I was struggling with just life issues and, the big picture and everything. And I felt like I had this epiphany, and I knew I had to tell you about it. And that's when I called you, and it was the God timing. And here we are.
And here we are. So real quick, I will tell your listeners, I'm Jami Emery, and I'm the author of 2 books, Stolen Jesus and Sacred Ground, Sticky Floors, which is the name of my podcast. I have 6 children also, so we have a dozen between us. And I have 2 launched completely. John's a Marine, and Maggie is married and runs an embroidery business. Luke is still here at home, but he's basically completely independent. He's 19 and an assistant manager at a store and just does his own. He's a yoga teacher. He's all the things. He's our hippie baby. And then we have Sophie, and she's in high school, and Sam and Charlie, the Vandals. And I'm married to Justin for 26 years. And we live in Houston. And there's not much else to it. Oh, there's some other stuff to it.
There's a lot to it.
There's so much more to it that we can't combine it all. But that's, in general, my story. So, with that being said, Rebecca, tell us the story of this Jubilee Road idea and the scripture and all the things. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thanks for just laying that all on me, but I will do the best I can. The epiphany that I had, it comes at every new year. I was just thinking about, how to be the healthiest and, lose weight and do all of the good things. And, every year it's something, there's all the different kinds of diets and there's all the different kinds of ways to work out. I won't even begin to list them because we all know there's so many. And every year, this has been going on forever for me. Like, I honestly can't even remember the beginning of me thinking, oh, I need to lose 5 pounds. Oh, if I could just run a little further, if I could do this, if I could do that. And always, there's nothing wrong with trying to better your physical health, but that's always been my goal. And on the other hand, I've struggled with some life issues, and I'm sure that we will get into that kind of stuff later on in some podcasts down the Jubilee Road. But I just decided that, it was ridiculous that I was putting all of this focus on, my physical health by what I eat and how I take care of my body, when really, and I know for me, lately I have not had a cheerful heart, and this is something that's been going on for a few years for me. And it just dawned on me. Proverbs 17 verse 22 says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. And I realized that it wasn't my physical body that I needed to work on. So the health of my physical body isn't perfect, but the thing that I needed to work on was my spiritual health. And I needed to fix my non-cheerful heart. So I guess my bones are drying up, and I felt like, I need to put more focus on that as opposed to always focusing on, what I'm eating and, oh, what's the next new thing? The thing that is, the underlying issue is not having a cheerful heart.
Yeah. Well, and I would interject here. I can't stand the whole New Year's resolution thing, because I think it just sets us up for failure. So, I have a blog post or two out there about that. But my other big thing is this, and it's, but it just came into my mind as you were talking, and it's not a matter of starting over. I think this is so important. Starting over as if we've failed God, we've failed ourselves, or we can't, or we're in the pit. And I know I've said this before, but, I used to always think when I failed at a New Year's resolution or a diet or an exercise program or got depressed or dealt with any of those things, that I had failed God, and that was his last straw. I always pictured him up there going, well, that's it, I'm done. She's a lost cause. And then when I fell into the message of grace, I realized that there was no starting over, but that there was just, and it's coming together perfectly, Rebecca, because it's a journey. And just like with any relationship, it's a journey. Yes. So Justin and I are in a bad spot, or not getting along, or finances are a mess or something like that. We don't go renew our vows every single time and start completely over. Right. We just fix that problem and move on. Mm-hmm. And I think so many of us really do think that it's this big, huge apology and of fixing by starting completely over in our relationship with God. But it doesn't, he's constant and nothing can separate us from him, right?
Right.
So, but I'm on the exact same page as you with that. You and I both this last year have struggled with real health issues. And I, for the first time really in my entire adult life, fell into a true depression. Like, it wasn't even, oh, I need a facial and I'll snap back out of this. I was broken and just grief and those kind of things. But it was the first time in my life that I was in a position like that I didn't feel like I was letting God down. Like, I didn't feel like he had it with me. And if I didn't pull myself together, this, and this, and this, it was more of this nurturing feeling. However, now that I've come out of that, you saying what you said is so exciting for me, because I realized that I'm picking up from that spot. I don't want to completely forget what happened. But I also want to move forward, I mean, I think it's almost, well, not almost, it is absurd to me, especially the message that the strike of the clock is this marker on which all of a sudden we're going to be completely different. And that marks the spot. I'm going to be different. And I think it was like 2 or 3 days after the new year where I fell back into a little bit of that depression. It was actually the day you called, I think, that I was just like, it came back. It didn't matter that it was 2019. I found a sock that belonged to our little foster love that we had for almost 2 years that's been gone for 15 months. And I lost it. And I got back in the bed and I ate Cheetos.
Right, because there's nothing magic about a new year. I mean, it's just another day. I mean, the magic doesn't come. I mean, it is great. It's a new year, and I do believe in goals. I do have ideas about resolutions and goals and, dream boards and all that good stuff. But when it comes right down to it, if you've got problems, if you're depressed, if you're clinically depressed, if you have issues, like we have our health problems, whatever, it's not, oh, it's a new year and it's magically going to go away. It's just not. But the day that I called you, it was almost like, I mean, I've read this verse, I don't know how many times in my Christian life, but it was like all of a sudden it just was so applicable to my life, is that, I'm trying to take this vitamin and I'm trying to like do this thing and just whatever to fix my health. And this is the underlying problem. And I know there's so many people, we talked about this before, everyone, like I said before, everyone's up to their armpits in stress and anxiety and issues. I have every friend that I can think of has an issue. One friend has a son who's, relapsed on his drug problem. He's been through rehab for a couple of years. I have another friend who, just everybody has something. I could go on. And I think that everyone out there has something, either they're worrying and anxious over a child, or they have some issue in their marriage, or they have a financial situation. And really what I want to discover more and more, and this is what I kind of hope that we are going to go towards, is just learning, how do we daily walk in the joy of the Lord, and how do we apply the medicine of the cheerful heart to our wounds.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it sounds quite lofty, but it makes so much more sense to me. Like when I think I told you this yesterday, oh my gosh, I almost just give up on weight loss and all of the things. However, the thing that always motivates me is him.
Right.
So when I got alone for a few minutes last night, which was way later than I had hoped, and I was sitting with him and I was like, but I give up. And I just have this overwhelming thought that was like, no, you don't.
Right.
Because I don't. But I mean, I honestly, I can't fathom. It is easy to get, I'm easily distracted by shiny things and plans and diets and all the things. I'm easily distracted. But to my core, he is what motivates me. And he really is my only hope. I mean, I have proven time and again that without him, I'm totally hopeless. And I don't think there's necessarily, well, I know there's not anything wrong with it. I mean, I think we have a mentality of, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and eat carrots and, walk 3 miles and do this and do this and do this and do this, and then you'll be happy. But the reality of it is happiness or joy, either one, are available to us in the hope of knowing that things are going to change and be different. But it's also scary to think about what it would look like if they don't change. And I actually had, I saw somebody post, it's like an old acquaintance, post like the day before New Year, I can't wait for 2018 to go. I'll never want to live through something like this again, just, on and on and on. I'm so excited. And it was kind of motivational. Well, her stepson died on New Year's Eve in a car accident. Well, 2019 was just laid out for her as a season of grief and loss and all of the things. So we don't get to decide that. What we do get to decide is where our joy is going to come from. And I mean, it's not easy, but I think like for me anymore, it's ingrained in me that he's my only hope. So I think that was one of the things that carried me most through 2018. And I mean, I right now don't feel like it's all that different just because I'm signing my checks different. I still have these things I have to deal with. I still have things in front of me, but it is most hopeful to think in those terms of he's for me, he's with me. He's got some really good stuff in mind.
Right. Yeah. And back to the joy thing. And I think I haven't learned, and hopefully from you, I feel like you're such a good spiritual leader for a lot of us ladies, and especially in our Hope Lively group, which hopefully everyone, in case you don't know, Jami and I have a group on Facebook. It's Hope Lively, and it's a group for women.
It's actually, we changed the name to Hope Lively for Women because we had
some men try to join. And it is just a place where you can be yourself. And if you feel bad and you want to talk about it, you can, and there's no judgment. And it's just really such an amazing group of women. I'm always amazed by the support that is poured out on each other in that group. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying about Hope Life?
Well, you were saying that you can join her. I'm so glad you know how to edit.
Oh, I don't know. I was talking about joy, but anyways, I totally lost my train of thought with that. But I found this this quote by Ann Voskamp, and I thought this was so good. This was kind of along the lines of our joy thing. But she says, the secret of joy is to keep seeking God where we doubt he is. And like, if you just let that sink in, that paired with the cheerful heart, for me, it was just so powerful. Going back to how to walk in joy. And I guess what I was saying is you're such a good spiritual leader for us. And I'm hoping that you can help us learn and apply these things to our lives, because I truly want to walk in joy. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to be that. I don't want to be bitter, and I don't want my soul to be dry as a valley of bones. I want to be this fountain of, love and joy and peace and, all of those things.
I do. Yeah. Well, I think that was one of the hardest things for me in the last year, was being in that place where I didn't feel like leading. I needed somebody to lead me. But I also was stunned to find that when I said those things out loud, the overwhelming response of women that are in that place of complete, I hate to say hopelessness, but that does happen, and it's easy to say stuff like, well, focus on Jesus, focus on Jesus, focus on Jesus. But when you can't focus, and that is one of the things that this last year, my mind was so cluttered.
Just barely making it through each day.
Yeah. And I think that we think, I know, because we say this, well, I could never go through da-da-da-da, or I could never do da-da-da-da. But I actually was thinking about that before I did last week's podcast about myself and was saying goodbye. I did do it. I did get into a situation that I thought I would be the end of me, and had a child removed, which you met our little joy baby. She is she's the best.
She was.
She's just awesome.
She is.
Yeah, she is. And but losing her has probably been one of the absolute most heartbreaking things that I've ever been through. But I did make it. I am here.
You're making it every day.
Yeah, and I'm better for having known her. I don't want to forget that happened, and it does get a little bit easier. I think that's God's gift to us, is that grief changes and subsides, and it comes in waves, and it's not all of the, there was a time where it was completely crashing down, but there's other times that it, is just sweet memories, or a cry in my car, or those kind of things. But I don't know. I think that one of the things that kind of has helped me pull up those bootstraps is that I did make it. And I don't think we give ourselves any credit for that. I really believe one of the things that happens is we look back on those sad seasons and we're like, I wish I'd been better. Or I wish I'd been stronger. I wish I'd been this and this and this and this. And if only I had done this, this and this and this. And so we look back on our low seasons with regret, instead of looking back on our low seasons as almost like university. Like that's what I learned from that. And I learned that, I could too. And I did. And I still took care of my family. I maybe didn't do it as well as I would have liked to, but it is what it is. And I think getting caught up in that regret only dries the bones more, instead of moving forward and seeing it as, I don't like this scripture, which I do have a blog post about, the scripture I hate the most, which is, all things will work together for good for those who love the Lord, which I think is truly one of the cruelest things you can say to someone that's right in the middle of it, in the thick of it. Yeah. It's like, really, he's going to make this into something good? Well, thanks. I'd rather he had just made that good thing stay.
Or like, the thought might be, oh, well, maybe I don't love the Lord enough. All things might not work together for good for me because maybe I don't love him enough. Maybe I'm not doing it right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a mixed bag of words, because I mean, it can just cut especially if you're in that season. But at the same time, on the other side of that, looking back, I know he's using it for good. And so that brings me hope too. And it's nourishment, I guess. I mean, I know it is, but it is hard. I think somebody emailed me the other day and said that they were infertile and that they'd tried everything and that was over. And she said, I don't know how to make that right. And she said, and she came across that blog post, all things work together for good. And she said, and I've had so many people say that to me. And she said, I can't be more offended. Does that mean I don't? Because she said, I'm mad. And she said, and I'm mad at God. And my response to that usually is, yeah, and he knows that. You can't hide that from him. And he's big enough to handle that. But at the same time, her dreams are dashed, crushed, destroyed. And my only response to that is that she is going to wait on him, and that I would join her in praying for a house full of children like she wants.
Right.
Now, like in our case with adoption, which of course I got pregnant every 15 seconds, so I can't really sympathize with
I know. No, I know what you're saying. It is hard. And I have had friends too that have struggled with infertility issues, and it's hit close to home recently. But yeah, I didn't have that problem either. And it is hard because it's amazing, isn't it, how we all have different things that we have to deal with, and God, will help all of us through, and he's available just as much. His grace is just as applicable to every person for every situation. I mean, when you think about it, this person who's infertile that you're talking about, and I'm sure there's many more out there, God's grace is just as applicable to her as it is someone like me, trapped between two seasons of life, looking back with a little regret, looking forward with a little apprehension. I mean, we're all in a place where we need his grace applied daily, minute by minute, second by second. So,
well, and I was a cheerleader for, not literally, but a cheerleader for a young couple that was infertile, and just joined them in prayer and went through all the things, and they got a placement that they were with for 2 days, and the mom changed her mind. And I remember, I've never seen such devastation, and I've seen a lot of devastation. And I was without words for that loss. They had their hopes up, and then they had her in their custody for 2 days, and then the mom changed her mind. And I remember when I talked to them the first night after the baby was gone, and I was just like, I can't even imagine. I have nothing to say that can possibly bring you any comfort. But then this year, when we got their Christmas card and they have their little boy, which they got 3 months later, they wouldn't change that loss for the gain. The
right.
gain ended up being what was best for them. And it's impossible to try and figure that part out. And I think that that's one thing that we try and do really quickly. And then when it doesn't turn out like that, we've somehow lacked in our faith, or we've let someone down, or whatever. But our joy has to come simply from hoping that there'll be more, that he will do what he says he's going to do and fulfill what he says he's going to fulfill.
And isn't it beautiful, though, when you do get a circumstance like that where you can look back and then see the whole picture all laid out like that? Yes, they didn't get this girl, but then they ended up with, you said, a son, and the picture turned out beautifully for them. And it would have been totally different if they had still had the daughter, for whatever reasons. I mean, we don't know why God does things or why things happen the way they do, but it is, to me, so wonderful when you can look back and see, how it worked out so beautifully.
Yeah. I always actually do remember 2 months, almost exactly 2 months before we got Sam, we were offered a placement that I was not comfortable with. And Justin was like, yep, we'll do it. And I was like, something's not right. And what it was actually the family's involvement. And I just knew it wasn't right. And I am haunted by the idea I know that he can make all things right and all things new, but I always think about Sam being somewhere else, because then we ended up with Sam. And so looking back, I think that's one of my things about New Year's resolutions and those things, is that we can completely erase those things when they're important. They're important to look back and see where he blessed and where he said no, and, those kind of things. We've been talking for a while, so let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back and pick up where we left off. Until then, here is Rebecca's Healthy Bite.
Today's episode of A Healthy Bite is brought to you by Jami's Etsy shop, Jami Amerine Studio. If you're looking for anything unique, visit Jami's shop for fantastic handmade jewelry, crosses, original paintings, art, stationery, and pure homemade bath and body products. Visit her Etsy shop, and we will include this link in the show notes. And you guys really do need to check it out. Her stuff is so adorable. And so today, our first Healthy Bite is going to be about sleep. And the previous podcast I had about a healthy bite was just a short little bite of healthy information to keep you on the track to total wellness. And I find that sleep is one area where we can really focus some attention on our health easily. Everyone can sleep, right? I know some people have insomnia and other issues, trouble falling asleep, but everyone can sleep. And so during sleep, your body is restored. And that's the time that your body takes to regenerate cells and basically take out the trash. So it's important to have good sleep hygiene, doing things like shutting down all of your computers and electronics an hour before bedtime, drinking some calming chamomile tea, or not drinking coffee after noon, and just having a peaceful environment. And so sleep is one area where I feel like people can easily improve their health by just focusing on good sleep hygiene. So that's our Healthy Bite. And if you want to know more about good sleep hygiene, just go to thatorganicmom.com and type sleep in the search bar, or click on the menu for sleep, and you'll find lots and lots of articles on how to get better sleep, how to get your kids to sleep, how to fall asleep at the right time, how to wake up at the right time, and everything else you want to know about sleep.
Thank you, Rebecca. I don't sleep when Justin's out of town, which is another problem that I have because he's out of town a lot lately. But oh my gosh, that is one thing that really, talk about dries up the bones and makes me, I'm just not okay.
Right.
No.
Same.
It's like, yeah.
If I go out of town and I don't sleep in my normal sleep habitat? Anyways, if I don't sleep in my little environment that I have set up for my cozy slumber of peace, then I suffer. Like, I turn into a grumpy bear without my sleep. Mm-hmm. And I have learned all of the secrets to good sleep.
I know you have. And she has them on her blog, so you're going to want to go check that out. So so all this is stuff that we've said, I guess we need to put into practice.
Right.
So what do you see yourself doing? Not this year, but I would say this, and because I've talked to you and you eat well, you sleep well, you go the extra mile to take care of yourself. And I think it was your mom that said, well, if this is how you feel, there's no hope for the rest of us. And I kind of felt the same way. I was like, wait a minute, if she's doing all this and she's sick and unhappy, what's going to happen to me? So let's talk about that. Because it was so relevant to me. I actually did decide, and I did this, but I'm trying to process the way that I'm doing it so that it's healthy, because I'm trying to abide by my own teachings, which are everything is permissible, not everything is beneficial. Yes. And my book proposal for my third book is all about that, about this balance of that. However, I do suffer from autoimmune disease, and I'm not really, I was actually cleared of all my food allergies this last year. However, I do know that wheat still is not good for me. I love sugar. Like, I want to roll around naked in it. I want to wear marshmallows. I love sugar. But I have a wedding coming up in May. Our son John, the Amerine, is getting married to his sweetheart. And I don't like the way that I look right now. And so there's that balance. And especially if you're dealing with depression or a season of grief or any of those things, it's hard because we make it such, especially in our society, such a huge focus of happiness. Well, if I weighed 60 pounds less, I'd be happy. If I was a marathon runner, I'd be happy. If I was in a healthier marriage, I'd be happier. If I won the lottery, I would be happier. So what we're basically saying is that you can have all of those things. You can have
still not be happy.
And still not be happy. So I guess it would be in our best interest to at least offer how we're proceeding forward now that that revelation is more obvious to us this year. Because and I think it's important to note, you don't have to do any of the stuff that we're saying. This is our conversation. And I would also say there was a time not very long ago where I was completely incapable of any of the things that I'm doing today to prepare for this wedding or take care of myself. And you never know what's going to come up. So, if I'm committed to swinging my kettlebell and going to yoga and walking and eating this way and being healthy, but it can't be the thing that brings me happiness. And it can't shadow my walk with Jesus, because he's really the only thing that's getting me up out of bed. So do you have any suggestions for that? Or are you waiting for me to say my suggestions?
Well, I mean, if you're ready to say your suggestion, yes, I can tell you a little bit about what I had in mind, but if you're ready to.
No, I would rather you did that.
Well,
I really would.
I don't have a handbag full of ideas, but my thing that I am focused on is, the cheerful heart and finding the way to get, walk in his joy. And that means that, like I was saying before, I don't want to say that healthy food and being healthy was an idol for me. I don't really feel like it was an idol, but I did place
you actually have a lot of very good balance. You do.
I feel like I might have some balance there, but I definitely feel like it's high on the list of importance. But I want him to be the most important thing. And I feel like the joy comes when you live your life as if you're always trying to please him. And, when you put him first, I feel like the joy will come. And I mean, when I say joy, I don't mean that your life is going to be a bed of roses and every day you're going to wake up happy and go to bed happy and all the happy things are going to happen. We have trials and tribulations. We all do. And we all have to learn to live through them and how to cope with them and how to lean on him and trust. If everything was perfect, we wouldn't need Jesus. So I just want to lean on Jesus this year. I just want to give it all to him. I just take it all in my hands and I just want to lay it out there for him. I'm giving it to him, and I'm just going to trust him. I just want him to heal my dried up bones. And I really am focused on that mainly. But then as like many things under that, many as in small things under that, I am first focused on other people. And in that, I mean, when something happens to me, for example, someone sends me a text and I read the text and I think, well, what does she mean by that? Or let's take the lady that spoke to me the other day in Taekwondo class, for example. I told you about this. The lady says to me, I get up and I'm getting ready to take my daughter to Taekwondo. I put my makeup on my washed face. I brush my hair and put it in a bun. I put on a clean sweater, clean pants, and clean shoes. Okay. And I go, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm out of my pajamas on a weekend. I have, I look okay, and so I walk into Taekwondo and I go sit down next to another mom, and the mom looks at me and says, well, I'm glad to see I'm not the only person half put together today. Well, my first instinct is, wow, thanks a lot. Of course, yes, it was rude. My first thought was just like, how could she say, I tried so hard to look decent today. I mean, I got up and did these things. Instead of my first reaction to be that she's being mean to me or she's rude or she just, what? I want my first reaction to be, she's trying to make herself feel better. She was in her gym clothes and she hadn't done anything to her hair. She didn't have on her makeup. So what she was saying was, oh, let's be buddies. I mean, I want my first thought to be good towards her. And so I'm going to try to see other people that what they do and say to me is not malicious. So instead of thinking, she's trying to be rude to me, I just want to think, well, she just said the first thing that came into her mind. And how many times have I stuck my foot in my mouth? How many times have I looked at some other mom and like, are you okay? You look tired. Well, how does that make someone feel? I'm not perfect either. I don't always say the perfect thing. I'm sure that mom went home and thought, oh, why did I say that? Well, I hope she thought that because I did try to look good, but I want to think the best about her. I don't even know her first name. I know her son's name because he's in my daughter's Taekwondo class, but I don't know her, but it hurt my heart. And my first reaction normally would be to think that she's being rude. But I want my first knee-jerk reaction to be, oh, she just opened up her mouth and something fell out, or that person cut me off in traffic. Oh, my goodness, And this is my thing. Since we have moved out here to Strawberry Plains, I have to commute all the time because my daughter is like psycho about Taekwondo. So I'm constantly driving 30 minutes to her Taekwondo class, driving 30 minutes home. And at first I was so stressed out. Oh, this traffic. Oh my goodness. I can't take it. The traffic is insane. There's like 6 lanes, bumper to bumper, people. Everybody's cutting each other off. Why are they doing that? I got to get around them. And then I just had this realization that I don't have to punch a time clock. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'll get there when I get there. All of these other people got to get to work. They've got to get there on time or they're going to lose their job. I need to get out of the way and let them go. And so if that makes any sense at all, that's what I want my mindset to be. And I'm depending on Jesus to help me accomplish that.
Yes. Well, it does help because actually I have a list of things that I did make in particular that I think can be the catalyst for joy. One of them is actually forgiveness, but I want us to do a whole podcast on that. I have, it could even be the next one because since I'm touching on it, I don't think that we're necessarily capable of forgiving on our own totally, which is another reason to need Jesus. But in that, the next one is offering compassion. So that is a great segue into this. And I think that offering compassion often comes from a place of asking God to show you what he sees. And I'm always reminded of John Sheesby, who's one of the teachers that just catapulted me into the message of grace. But he was from South Africa, born and raised in South Africa. And he was very prejudiced against African-American people, like bitterly prejudiced. And he's this minister, and he's, and had moved to Dallas, and he's got this thriving ministry, and he just realizes that he takes such offense to African-Americans. He was raised in that culture, and he's offended by them. And so he told his wife, I need to get away. I've got to pray about this. I've got to I know it's not right. I know that my feelings make no sense. So he talks about that he gets this yellow pad of paper and he gets down on his knees and he goes, okay, God, I'm coming before you with this thing. I am prejudiced and I know that it is impeding my ministry and my life. Tell me what to do. And he says he just instantly heard God, well, I guess the first thing you need to do is forgive me for making an inferior race. And he was stunned. But I am stunned by that. Ever since I heard that, every time that I take offense with someone, I'm stunned by that the reality of that's his creation, that's his child, that's somebody that he wants that for. And it really does take a lot of the offense out of it. How can we be that offended knowing this is he created it? It may be a red hot mess, but it's his. And so it's not really my problem.
Wow.
And so I have been freed in many situations with that mindset, which actually when I think we'll do separate show notes for our blogs or whatever, but I'll list these because I'll post about it. But so that was my first thing, is just a compassion or an understanding, maybe not for the person, but for the God that created them. I mean, and I do have that with God because I have a bleeding heart that I wear on my sleeve. So, and I always have. My mom made fun of me one time. She was in the hospital and the lady next to her was just like tooting up a storm, having gas and moaning and groaning. And I went over and went, are you okay? Can I help you? And, just talk to her and everything. My mom was like, what are you doing? But I just do have that. I have compassion and a bleeding heart for people that are in awkward or bad, hurtful situations. So that's my first thing, is looking at another person's point of view. And if I can't look at their point of view, looking at it from God's point of view, which it is his creation. And I love that story about John Cheeseby, because I just think, he was just like, oh, well, okay, I'm over that. What a jerk I am, But I just think it was so wise. But my second thing, it's the second one, and that's hateful self-talk, which I think lends to compassion for ourselves, which we're not accustomed to. I say stuff into the mirror, and it's embarrassing for me to say this to you, but I will. I mean, I looked in the mirror the other day after I think I ate something that I wasn't trying not to eat, or I can't remember. And I literally walked into the bathroom to pee, and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I went, oh my gosh, you're so disgusting. I hate you. I mean, seriously, I'm a pretty nice person, Rebecca. Who else in the world would I talk to like that?
No one.
There's literally no one in the world that I would talk to like that. And yet I have free reign to go, you're a slob and a disgusting human being, and you can't get your act together. And so I went back with that, and I looked at it from that John Cheeseby's point of view, and I really did say, I guess I'm curious what you think when I say stuff like that. And I'll try not to cry, because I honestly felt him just go, it just hurts me. It's just a waste of your resources. It's a waste of your emotions, because I just think you're great. And it's not easy to get in a place where you know that he thinks you're great. But when you're in tune with that, it really is a joyful place to know I can't let him down. I can't be separated from him. I can let a whole bunch of other people down. I can get told off. I can, be in situations of rejection, and he just never rejects me. So that's my second thing, which leads me to this thing, which is gratitude. And I think that it's not always easy. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna and go, all you have to do is give thanks. But that was of the things that, compassion, no hateful self-talk, and then gratitude. And especially when we're hurting, that seems so much harder. But I truly believe it is just voicing one thing out loud and giving thanks for it. It's just this snowball effect of, well, yeah, if I'm thankful for that, then I must be thankful for this, and I must be thankful for this, and I must be thankful for this. And that just bubbles up in us joy. And so that was the thing. And then as far as resolutions go, I did decide that every night before bed, I would write 5 things for today that I'm grateful for, and go to bed on that thought process. Because I think there are, if you're alive and kicking, there has to be 5 things that you can come up with, even if they're stupid.
That's a lot of pressure for me, Jamie. I can come up with one thing every day.
Okay. Well, and that's why
one thing every night. I promise. I will come up with one thing, but I think I would be under a little bit of pressure to come up with 5. Like, I'm in a miry pit sometimes, and I think if maybe someone else feels like me and they don't think they can think of 5, is it okay to just do 1?
Yes, and actually, let me interject. Again, these are just what I'm doing, so you actually don't have to do it. But I would say
I did that for a while. Actually, I got my new passion planner, which this is the 3rd year I've used the passion planner, and I get no money from them, but I just love them so much. And I take the full calendar page, where it has like the whole month. Instead of writing the days of the month on there and like my appointments or stuff, I put in every one of those little squares, boxes, every day I think of one thing I can be thankful for that day. And I'm not going to lie, it's a struggle for me. I'm a very realist. I don't want to say I'm a negative person, but I struggle with this. And so I feel like a good thing for me is 1 per day.
1 per day. And for me, it snowballs, because I was even thinking the other day, I didn't have anything that had been good for the whole day. And then I remembered, which some of you already know this about me, but I'm literally addicted to gumballs. I love gumballs. I love biting into them. I love the destruction. I don't eat the blue ones, so the Vandals always have blue teeth because I have a baggie that I put the blue ones in, but I love gumballs. And I got into bed and I was just like, I got nothing. There's nothing I can think of that I'm thankful for. And I was like, I had gumballs. And so I remembered that I had gumballs, and when I actually got the gumballs and I opened the container as this little box of gumballs, 90% of them were pink or red, which never ever happens.
Very few.
So I listed that. Yeah. And then that kind of led into, and I had money for gumballs, and I was alone for a little while when I bought the gumballs, and it did kind of just end up snowballing into like 25 things that I was thankful for that day. And I laughed myself to sleep, and I probably have cavities, but there's something to be said for at least trying to thank him for something. And I mean, even if it's just, you lay your head down on the pillow that night and just think, I'm just thankful that the pillowcase is cold. It won't stay cold, but I'm thankful right now that it's cold.
I think, I agree with that. And I mean, like I said, it was a struggle for me, but I did come up with some pretty random stuff to be thankful for.
Yeah. So, on that note, I guess we can wind it up here.
Yeah. If you hear weird sounds from either of us while you're listening to this podcast, Jami is recording in a closet and I'm recording in my daughter's bedroom. So this is real life here.
Really professional. And actually, one of the small commotions you may have heard was actually both of my feet fell asleep because I'm sitting on the floor with my computer on a laundry basket, and I had to unfold, and I'm in the we have a closet. I'll just tell you, okay, one of my most thankful things is that my husband cleaned out this closet under the stairs, and it's where we keep the Vandals. They have like all their cards. Go get in your closet, and they will, and they're happy in here. They have rations. I found some goldfish crackers and stuff like that. So
if nice, you trapped in there, you won't die of hunger.
Yeah, but I don't know how I'm going to unfold from the position I'm in and not knock over my computer. But anyway, this has been yes. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, are there comments on your? We need, because I just wanted to allow people the opportunity to leave a comment about what they struggle with or what they're thankful for or what they're working on. I'd love to hear. I mean, how do you relate to what we're talking about, or what do you want to hear? We really, really want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you guys feel about what we're talking about and what you're struggling with, what you're working on. We want to know all these things.
We do. We really do need to know all these things. They just are helpful. Because it helps us move forward, especially if someone totally disagrees with us, then that makes, room for more conversation. I don't know that we said anything too objectable. How do you say that? Objectionable. So
Right.
professional.
Well,
so
mostly,
professional.
I just feel like, I want to hear what people are dealing with and stuff. I mean, I think that's what we do a lot in Hope Lively is we just like it. A lot of times it's like oh gosh, okay, I realize I'm not the only person on earth that's it's sad that, I mean, it's such a good thing to share and walk through these things with each other. And I feel like so many times I'm lifted up by someone in Hope Lively who's like, I've been there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to get out of this. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, I'm so, I so rely on more than ever because I don't have time to go anywhere or do anything. Really, the communities that I'm involved in social media, that's just a happy place for me. So we will link Hope Lively in the show notes, and you just have to ask to join, and then you will be most welcome. So I will make a blog post that talks about these things and ways to move forward in joy. It's not the end all, it's just suggestions, but I'll try and also do some questions for thought. And we appreciate you guys taking time to listen and transitioning with me and Rebecca. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And I do want to give a shout out to Jennifer Willerton, who sponsored all my podcast up to this point. And I will continue to link her on my page every time that I put a podcast up. She's independent beauty consultant Jennifer Willerton, the only person I trust with my face. And that is true. She's wonderful, and I appreciate her so much. And we will be back next week. Are you okay with me saying this? I really want to talk about forgiveness next time.
Yes. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah. I think it's a great topic. I have some stuff that I learned myself over the last year that I think are, some really good points. So I'm eager to do that with you. And so until next time, I'm Jami, Emery.
And I'm Rebecca Huff.
And this has been season 3, episode 1 of Jubilee Road, A Grace Journey.
Awesome.
Until next week, Jesus be all over you.
Thanks for joining Jami and Rebecca for this episode of Jubilee Road Podcast. If you loved this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it on iTunes so more women like you can find freedom in the grace journey. And join the girls here next week for another episode.